everyone. Hope your day is going fantastically well. Today, we're going to talk about what kind of tech stack should you be considering for your customer success motions. And I have someone that has a lot of experience in this area, and she's not in customer success, but actually a technical account manager that is dealing with this kind of stuff all the time. She needs to collaborate with customer success, professional services, support, and she's also going to talk about what are the tools that she recommends based on her experience and what works for her and what doesn't. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us who you are, what company you work for, what type of clients do you typically deal with, large, small?
So I'm Sol. I'm almost 40 years old. My job at EasySend is a technical account manager / project manager. Basically, I think our role is very high touch with customers. I am the direct technical touch point for the customers at the company. I work mainly with the German and European market in EasySend, as well as some of the US and Canadian customers. I also have some Israeli customers, mainly the VIP ones. My role is, again, take all the technical requirements that the customers have inside the company. I work with the product team, sales teams, customer success team, and of course the delivery to make sure that the customers get their requirements, get the digital processes that they're looking for. Because my role goes across the company, then I do see a lot of the systems that we work in. All the 4 or 5 systems are something that I work with every day. So I do have an input. And it's something that I've been always interested in all the companies I've been working for, getting to know the different tech stacks and having inputs and make things more optimized as we go.
How long have you been working with your company?
I've been in EasySend for almost 1.5 years now.
So throughout the years of your experience working with your current company, previous companies, as a technical account manager, you work with a lot of different teams. And so what are some of the main issues that you have seen constantly come up when companies are not optimizing their tool set for customer facing projects, services, tracking for adoption, renewal, all of that stuff?
I think a lot of times we get systems by inheritance. They're just there from a long time ago. And we add tech stack as we go, but they don't normally talk to each other. The systems are very isolated. So I work in a system, but I need data coming from another system and they don't interact. So I get frustrated, or I just start what we call landmining my data as I go. So it only adds more like chores and grinds to the work that I need to do because the tech stack that I have isn't planned. It's not organized in some sort of a structure. That's the main pain point that I see all the time.
Yeah. So companies just basically choose a tool that seems great. They purpose it for one department or one process. And the people who work in the process that are accountable for the process, maybe having a good time running the process, but everybody else that needs to collaborate may not be having such a great time because then they might have their own primary system and they still need to get access to this other data. With the lack of IT department necessarily, especially with startups, nobody thought ahead of time, how do we all these systems orchestrate together to create like a nice symphony for everyone?
I've also worked in a corporate before, and even if you have an IT department and you have people that's their job, I don't think necessarily that's where they go to like looking at it again as like a high level kind of structure that needs to be talking to each other. A lot of times, again, it's something that's disorganized and unstructured, and it's something that's not prioritized. Like, for example, me as a project manager, I will work in Jira and I will work in Monday, but the sales team will work in Salesforce. They're happy with it. How do the system interact, and how can we make that interaction work for everyone?
That causes you, as an account manager, technical account manager, some of the impact that it has on you is a lot of manual work to just do some due diligence from multiple systems.
And doing the same thing 2 or 3 times, like updating things both in this system and then in that system and then in that system because they don't interact and they don't talk to each other. So yeah, definitely. Not just for me, by the way. I can see the customer success team asking me questions on things they are presented in somewhere else. So a lot of times it's just like time is money. So basically not having that organized causes you to work extra and then to lose time that you could be doing something else.
So duplicate work, inefficiencies, lack of bandwidth because you're doing a lot of manual processes to analyze data on your own, pulling data from different systems. All those things could be completely eradicated with the right tech stack. Is there any impact, do you think, on the customers?
I don't think necessarily, like I would put it as like the lowest pain point in this issue, but I do think eventually if you're not working efficiently, then you're not using your time efficiently. So basically it will harm the customer eventually because you will have less time to work on other things that are more important, like customer relations or having like the precise data that you need in order to prevent churn or see things happening from that are coming across the different systems. It won't necessarily get there, but I do think having everything in a concise way can definitely take you a step forward.
In addition to not having to input too many things in too many systems and manual processes, what else opens up for you as a technical account manager, for customer success managers that you have seen where a more mature customer success stack was implemented and there was a better integration between systems?
I would say BI or basic like data analytics that give you insights, trends, and can predict certain activity from your customers, like to prevent churn or show you different trends or things, places that you can lower your foot out the gas, that you can chill there because it's a good customer and everything's fine, and you can put your pressure on a different spot in the company. I think data is the key, and I think systems that are doing BI or using your data to put it in some sort of an analytics and insights is definitely taking everything a step forward.
Got it. So if we were to integrate all the customer success technologies and make sure that the data flows and it's mapped together, all of a sudden we have the capability to do better analytics, becoming more proactive, getting some insights, getting ahead of issues. And so thereby, obviously, lagging indicators are going to be things like higher renewals, better adoption, higher customer satisfaction, all of that. Then that goes beyond the leading indicators of just not having our own customer success managers and technical account managers and anybody that's interacting with the customer, not spending too much time in technology, but rather with clients. There's 3 aspects that you have shared as a framework to selecting a customer success platforms that can deliver a more mature customer success stack.
There were 3 general categories. One, for example, is a customer engagement one, meaning it is something that's like the customer success manager or technical account manager, for that sake, engaging with the customer. It's a customer facing kind of platform. For example, Salesforce, customer can open a ticket, can interact with you, you can answer back, the support team can answer him back. And it's something that you can engage with the customer. Cross collaboration platforms, for example, the Miro boards some of us use, or different SharePoints that we can use to collaborate with the customer and across the company. Eventually, also the number 3 is internal platforms that we use as an internal technology inside the company that doesn't necessarily get shared with the customer. For example, Jira, I would say.
You have actually leveraged Josh Schachter from Update AI. He kind of collected the customer success toolbox into 3 brackets: customer engagement, collaboration, then he had internal platforms as well. Out of those, what have you seen work really well for technical account managers and customer success managers that you have used in the past? Because I see that you actually had marked a few of those with a star. So maybe you could tell me about that.
Again, some of it is things that are like guided by the size of your company, the phase that you're in, the type of customers that you have. If it's like B2B, B2B2C, and B2C, there's a lot of a variation, I think. As you can see here, it's a huge tech stack. I think also companies can move from one tech stack to another. We are working with Salesforce to some extent with our support team. It doesn't necessarily work out for us, so we are maybe switching to a different one. I would say that I've been working in Slack for the couple of years, also with the Teams, the entire Microsoft 365 platform, Jira, Monday. There's a big tech stack that we've been working on that platform too, the Atlassian tech stack. And I would also say the Google Workspace in general. That's also a very cross-collaboration tool that we've been using with our customers as well.
And you would say that your current company life cycle, is it high growth private company, series A, B, C, D? I don't know.
We finalized our B series, I think, a year and a half ago. So yeah, that's basically where we are. It's a small company, 120 employees, something like that, both in Israel, but we also have employees in the Pacific and the US.
What I'd love to do is share. CSM Practice has its own recommended tech stack for customer success. If you look at that, what kind of solution do you as a technical account manager used in the past and thought, wow, that worked well for me and enabled me to collaborate maybe with other team members or other teams better?
I'm a sucker for Salesforce, I've got to say. I think it's very flexible. You do need a developer, but there is a lot of things that you can update according to your needs. So that's something that I love about it. And it does do a lot of things cross company. We are working with Google Workspace and Teams with some of my customers. We do work with Zoom, Slack, WebEx with my German customers. And I do think communication wise, they're all amazing.
Do you use any AI solutions?
No, actually, we do not.
Do you think that that's a miss in today's, I mean, we're in July 2023. Is that a miss?
Definitely. I think both AI and using the data properly, like in BI and analytics in general, I think it's a big miss for each company.
In your foundationally, what you're suggesting is that there's like 4 different types of platforms that any company would absolutely need to have as we're moving forward in that selection. Maybe you can talk about that.
A lot of times the actual solution can be one system that will answer 2 or 3 needs, and you don't necessarily need a different system for each or different tool for each need.
I agree, especially in today's world where like HubSpot might have multiple modules and other solutions. Salesforce might have multiple solutions. What I find is that sometimes that's what you mean by system consolidation. It's not just integrating the systems, but can we pick a system that can cater to all of these things? Here's what I'm thinking. I think every tool has its own like genius, the thing that they do best. And sometimes they kind of have that capability, that other capability that we might need, but it's not great. So that's why we end up having like multiple solutions for various needs.
I think you're right, but I think a lot of times because spreading out to too many tools can make us lose a lot of value, then sometimes we need to pay a price of some of the quality of their extra add-ons or things like that, because eventually using a different system that will do only that can cause us to lose a lot more eventually. Like, it's a give and take kind of solution.
So with more complication, there's more maintenance, more integration issues. And then when you simplify, you lose the capabilities, but the potential integration and getting data visibility, reduction in inefficiencies, increase in transparency is much higher.
There isn't like one rule for everyone. It's very, very different from each and every company. It also depends on the needs. It also depends on their moment. If it's a small company, if it's a big company, it's a growing company, and the people that are in the company, and if there's a champion in the company that can take this and own this. I can say, for example, for us that we've been using Monday and Jira and trying all the time to integrate them both. And eventually I thought to myself, maybe we can go back to Jira as the main structure and try to present the projects through Jira, because all the information is in Jira. We're always trying to take it out into Monday and present it in some sort of like pretty kind of way, because Monday is beautiful. But why don't we try and see what we need inside Jira and going back home? It's a question that we don't necessarily ask ourselves.
How would you frame that? Is that like a tip to say something along the lines of pick your primary data sources or primary systems? Who are your primary and who are your secondary?
And where the actual, like your basic data source is, where is it at?
What's your source of truth and what's the system that integrates into the source of truth?
Right. And what do you need to know and what are things that you can spare without? And then not necessarily you will be needing Monday.
Okay, so if I was a CEO or a chief customer officer and I was concerned about scalability, what are the 3 things that I need to think about?
Moving forward, always thinking 2 moments in time further than when you are at right now. For example, if you're growing, then don't settle for a lot of small and free trial kind of tools and think ahead what you're going to need when you're growing. But I would also say is the second point is don't think too big. I think a lot of times we jump way above what we need. And then we pay for like enterprise accounts or big tools that are more suitable for big companies and not necessarily for a startup. And that also causes unnecessary expenses, but also like being binded to a tool that doesn't fit you. And it will probably not fit you for the next 3 or 4 years. So you don't want to go there yet.
Okay, grow 2 sizes up. Don't grow 10 sizes up. Because you're not going to be able to leverage all of it. And B, you might not have the resources to maintain such a beast. And then if it doesn't work, to shift is going to be much more costly. And as a startup, you should be able to build into systems that if that doesn't work, you can actually move to another one fairly quickly because the business is changing so much until you become a larger organization.
I think the third one is going back to what we said is when you're thinking scale, always think of how everything I have can talk the same language, how they can interact with each other. Because again, if not, then you're going to scale. Your tools are going to be scaling, but they're not going to be interacting to each other. You're like leashing yourself down again back to square one. Nowadays, it's not an issue as much, but again, it's something that can take time, like different fields and different systems and how they're going to talk to each other. And it does need some work. Find the systems that interact faster with each other.
So you're right. There's more integrations between systems that come in built in already versus like 1994. I feel like it's still an issue sometimes. I can hear it being a recurring issue still for some reason. So maybe when you're a startup, you're less exposed to it, but certainly as an enterprise company, this becomes typically a very, very big issue. Which leads me to this question. What are some of the most common mistakes that you would recommend companies to avoid as they're selecting their customer success stack?
Security issues. Like I would like to make sure when I'm using a new tech stack that I'm sure that we're equipped with the right measures to secure our entire tech stack. Things are totally open to the world, no code, which can sound very appealing, but eventually can shut us down. The second one, I think, is data retrieval. Make sure that our chosen systems can provide us, again, the data required to make sure that our lives are easier and give us 360 view of all the information and everything that we're running in the company. Again, sometimes they just don't interact with each other or basically just don't have an ability to take out the data properly like we would like. And the third one will be analyzing and assessing. You need to experiment, to assess it, trial it, and make sure that it's the tools that you will work with and they will be comfortable for you to use and they will be powerful in your company to be used.
Any kind of tips or tricks for just moving forward with the digital transformation as we grow bigger as a startup or just as a company in general?
Taking this as an athlete, I would say digital transformation and using a tech stack is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something that you should do fast. You should just think it through and make sure that you know where you're going or discussing where you're going and making sure that you're open to things that are changing along the way because it's a long run. The second one I would say is benchmark as much as you can. Talk to other companies, talk to other friends. Get a hold of everything because not necessarily like a good tool for someone else will be good for you, but make sure that you get the entire view of all the people that you can get a hold of and different companies so you can understand exactly the pain points of each and every stack that you're checking. And also there's something appealing in a one-stop shop, basically. And I think that's a good thing to some extent. It can be something good for a startup, but I think as you grow bigger, this lower the odds that it's going to be working out for you in the long run. So this is something that you can take into account moving forward once you go bigger, once you scale, is letting go of that dream and moving forward with the bigger stack.
Anything else that you can think of as takeaway for our listeners?
I would say if you can afford it, professional consult can be amazing. I think having someone that knows how to implement and use tech stacks depending on your needs can give you a lot of value and save a lot of time moving forward. Having like a low code out of the box tools can be amazing, but it's also a downside. You do want to have something that's customized for you sometimes or open to customization. I think that's something that it's also something to take into account. And I would say that also make sure across your company and stakeholders that other people are engaged with that stack and it's easy for them to use it and not just yourself, because then you will be the only one using it and it's going to miss the entire
Absolutely. So if I am a CEO and I'm deciding to start on this journey, I want to design a better, more comprehensive customer success technology stack. What are some of the steps that I need to take? What would you recommend? Where to start? What should I do?
As a systems analytic, I would say map out your current state, make sure that you know your current data structure, your current systems that you're using, your needs. So you know where you're at right now. I would say then define where you're going, your goals, your objectives, make sure that you understand where the customer success vision is going to, your customer journey, and make sure you understand where your goal is to get to. I would then say to identify the options that you have. What are the options that can match what you need, where you're going to? What are the different options, their cost, their value? And then basically the difficult part is to decide and implement where you're going, which tool you're going to use.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you actually having some frameworks to share and sharing from your own experiences about what works and what doesn't, so that as executives, when we start thinking about what should the architecture for our customer success technology be, we don't just think about narrowly on our customer success managers, but everybody that they need to work with. And it was so awesome to hear your perspective from an athlete standpoint, from a technical resource standpoint, and somebody that's working very closely with the customer success teams to see how it impacts your day to day when executives are not optimizing the customer success stack, and what are the things that you would recommend doing going forward.
It was amazing to be here. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast episode, we're going to have a link to Sol's LinkedIn profile. Feel free to reach out and connect with that. If you have any other topics you'd like us to discuss or bring guests over to chat about, let me know in the comments below. And if you have any amazing customer success tools or any other things in your tech stack that you highly recommend anybody that is customer facing to consider using as part of their technology stack, let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear what you recommend. Big love from me. I'll see you on the next episode.